if the number of units goes more than 3, you will have to apply for a completion certificate. Completion certificate means 100% there should not be any deviations or violations. Don't fall prey to the promoters who say they want to produce a seal. The fees what you're going to charge is also for your accountability. It's not only for design anymore. Because you are accountable for everything. These are only the charges which are for the plan scrutiny. But when you purchase land, the land should be such a way that they give approval. Plus, one more most important thing is which zone it comes. Primary residential zone, commercial zone, educational zone, industrial zone. A lot of like many clients will come and say, people are saying we can build 3.25 times, we can build 4 times, we can build 5 times. You should be able to know the rules clearly. You can build 2 times. 2 times is the general FSA. Another most important thing is there are 3 forms. One is Form A, Form B, Form C. You have to understand that clearly. Form A is only for if you're going to subdivide the land. For example, there may be some 2 ground plots. If you want to divide the 2 grounds into 1 ground each for your with your brother, then you are subdividing the land. Or if you're joining 2 lands together, maybe you are purchasing 1 ground, you are purchasing another ground also. It's called amalgamation or reconstitution. For that, you have to fill Form A. Form B is the most important thing, what we all do. Form B is for application Form B is accompanied by proof of ownership, what I told the owner has to give. Then you will have to give the detailed plan, specification, site plan, key plan, topo plan, showing existing developments to radius of 100 meters, drawn to a scale of 1 to 500, such as details will be required from time to time. So Form B is most important thing, which the architect has to handle. Form C is for the we'll have given undertaking. The registered professionals. For example, if this is one of the most important thing, if in a building, if you have only 3 units, 3 houses, then you don't have to apply for completion certificate. If in an apartment or normally in an individual house, there's no need to go for a completion certificate. Or if you're building a flat, if you're building a residence for 4 brothers, something like that, if the number of units goes more than 3, you will have to apply for a completion certificate. Completion certificate means 100% there should not be any deviations or violations. If it is there, then you'll be held responsible. That is what we're giving an undertaking in Form C. Form C, like yourself, the architect, the structural engineer, geotechnical engineer, site supervisor, geotechnical engineer, that will do for non-multi-story buildings. Like any building which is less than a height of 18.5 meters is called is not a high-rise building. Any building which is more than 18.5 meters is called a multi-story building. So less than 18.5 meters height, you should have in the project they should have a registered architect, registered structural engineer, registered geotechnical engineer. So we'll have to give an undertaking that to the best of my knowledge, I'm giving all these things. If there's any professional deficiency, then I'm responsible. If there's if the building any violation in the building or any faulty construction, though all of us are signing, tomorrow when the problem is there, then they will ask. If at all if it goes to the CMDA, they'll form a committee and look into whose fault it is. Whether it is the fault of structural engineer, whether it is the fault of the geotechnical engineer who has given the wrong values, or it is due to the architect's fault who has not done the detailing properly. So we have the government. The government is clear. They cannot come and supervise all the buildings, whatever happening. Their manpower is less, so they cannot see the drawings. They cannot see the quality of They cannot control the quality of the buildings. So they put the onus on the professionals. If any defects are there in the building, then the professionals are responsible. So in that way, we young architects have to be really careful. You should appoint a good structural engineer. Not like a flat. Some of the flat promoters will will tell you, sir, per square foot it'll only be 2 kg per square foot steel, but it's not like that anymore. What the structural engineer decide only you have to put, not by the wordings of the promoter or someone who will say no. So it's all purely scientific. It's all purely by calculations, and you have to take into account the seismic. Chennai or most of Tamil Nadu comes under seismic zone 3. So earthquake resistant design also has to be taken into account. So don't fall prey to the promoters who say they want to reduce the steel. If they tell you to reduce the steel, then you can tell structural engineer whatever possible. But you have to go by structural engineer only. With a soil consultant, you do the soil testing. The soil testing engineer will give the type of foundation. What foundation you have to go to. If it's a clay soil, then he will say you will go for a pile foundation. If it is highly clayey with less bearing capacity, he will say you have to go for under ream piles. So they will suggest the type of foundation. It is the architect responsibility to advise the client to appoint the soil test consultant to get the soil test done. After soil test, the soil test person only he himself will have a PhD person, a doctorate, who will recommend the type of foundations. Then with that only you have to follow. You will have to tell the uh, uh, tell your structural engineer. Sometimes the client will say, no, in my neighborhood, people are putting only footings only. Why you are designing a well, why do you want to go for tile foundation? So you have to convince the client that tomorrow I'm signing. If anything else happens, I'm only responsible. You are not responsible. So we will go purely by scientific way only. The geotechnical consultant has suggested tile foundation. We have to go for that. So you have to be firm. You have to be firm because you are taking responsibility now. You are taking responsibility. No, if anything, otherwise you tell the client, I will not sign the drawings. You can go for footing, but I will not sign any of the drawings. So this you have to be very clear. In fact, the structural engineers also they keep telling the architects, you have to follow like whatever like reinforcement I'm giving. If you want to reduce it, then because he'll get into problems. You should not reduce it without my knowledge. So you'll have to go to site and check. The architects have to check the reinforcement at the footing stage, at the plinthing stage, at the roof slab stage, first floor roof slab scan. So all these things have to be checked thoroughly by the architect or and the structural engineer or by your site engineers. Only then you can sign. So your responsibility has become much more now. So what I'm trying to say is don't charge less fees. The fees what you're going to charge is also for your accountability. It's not only for design anymore, because you are accountable for everything. Water tank, where do you want to have the water tank? Initially itself, you'll have to decide on the third floor, where do you want to have the water tank, which is going to carry nearly 500 liters, 5,000 liters of water. How much will be the weight of water? So which four columns will take the load of the water tank? Initially, you have to design. Tomorrow, the Vastu person will come and say, I want to have it in the southwest corner. Your column will not, you would not have designed the column like that. But initially itself, if you know the water tank is going to come there, the lift, the headroom is going to come here, you can plan accordingly, and the columns can be made to take the load accordingly. So this is one of the most important thing. You plan everything in advance. Don't change in between, so you will get into problems. So where the columns on which the water tank is going to come, some person my client may say, I want 10,000 liters water. Normally, the sump underground capacity, sump will be 15,000 liters. 12,000 liters is one lorry load. So with the cushion we'll keep. So tomorrow some clients will say we want 15,000 liters water. At the time you have to rightly advise him saying that so much load is not required. The building cannot bear 5,000 liters, 6,000 liters. You can have the water tank gets empty. You can again take the water from the sump. So like that, you will have to advise the client. You have to know unnecessarily don't load the building so much, especially in the weak soil where the bearing capacity is very low. So an architect has to be really competent to understand. Approval comes in, like approval is there. Approval is when you read the rules book, you can understand easily. But these are the salient points which you have to tell the client initially itself. Sometimes they will like to have two tanks, one bore water tank, one sump water tank, one so all those things. The load, like what are you going to do? Because tomorrow when you tell structural engineer, he'll say that no, it cannot accommodate. You are not told me before, so I won't sign the structural engineer has to sign. No, he's got an undertaking at every point of time. He has to sign, especially in high-rise buildings. He will say he has to say I signed that site. Everything is going as per my structural design. He has to sign. So if you give a requirement which cannot be accommodated by structural engineer, then it's not possible. This you will have to bear in mind. So we have discussed about Form A, Form B, Form C. Form A for subdividing plots. Form B for all type of buildings. Form C for the registered professionals. You will be given a For us, our COI registration number is enough. Your structural engineer has to be registered. Your geotechnical consultant has to be registered. So these three are the most important things which you'll have to bear in mind. Can you go to next bottom? Yes. Scrutiny fees. Sometimes the client will ask you, sir, how much the approval will cost. At that time, you cannot be blind. You should be able to know how much they charge for the. These are only the charges which are for the plan scrutiny. Then labor welfare fund, then road cutting fund, then EB charges. All those things all those things will be there. You should be able to aware of all. You should be aware of all these things. For example, 2,000 square feet house means you're considering, it may charge you nearly like 1 lakh rupees. And for the official fees, I'm saying 1 lakh rupees. Like what are the breakup components in that? Not only this is only for the plan scrutiny. They have a lot of other items. So an architect should be aware of what all the expenses are involved when you apply for the plan, or like how much is going to cost. We only have to tell the client this is going to cost so much. Approximately like 20 to 30 rupees per square feet will come when it comes to the small buildings for official charges. So for reclassification, they're charging like 30,000 rupees like lump sum reclassification. And so reclassification sense, if the land is an agricultural land, if you want to reclassify into residential land, that is a reclassification. So for layout subdivisions, so these are the things. We go to next slide. Yeah. Now see here, plan requirements. What are the things which you have to submit to the while applying for planning permit? See here, two things you have to understand. One is the building permit. The first thing is the plan permit. Second thing is the building permit. Plan permit is the documents, like what all planning permit. A is planning permit, B is building permit. A is planning permit has to be given by the client to you exactly. All documents, easy, PATA, TSLR, income certificate, then advocate, they will also like to have from a government pleader, like notary authorized, all the documents has to be authorized by the notary. And then sometimes what do you say that the advocate has to, the government pleader has to give his this thing for that. So all these things will come under planning permit. Building permit is like what all you give, what all plans you submit. And then the site plan, ground floor plan, first floor plan, second floor plan, sections, layout plan, all these things. But these things all you'll be doing it online only. In the online itself, you will know. The system will say, okay, like this much setback. If you give a wrong setback, the system will not approve. The online software will not approve. So these things you should be aware of. You can get it done. So we can just like scroll down below. Only two things: planning permit and then building permit. Now we are looking at the building permit. Key plan, topo plan, site plan. So you can just go through all these things. No, like only thing like what we have to be aware is whether if the site is near the railway line. If from the railway line, if the site is less than 30 meters, then you will not get approved. You will not get an NOC from the railway authority. Similarly, if from the MRTS line, CMRL, Chennai Metro Rail Limited, 50 meters from the center of the CMRL line. And then if your building height is more than 30 meters, you will have to get the NOC from the airport authority. And if a site is close to a burial ground, or like again, if it's close to a high tension wire, if it's close to a lake or a water body, then what are the you should not purchase any property. This also all agri should know. 15 meters from a water body, 15 meters from a high tension line, 15 meters minimum. I'm saying 15 meters from a graveyard. You should not purchase any property. Even in the client purchases also, you should tell them. It is very, very difficult to get approved. And even in the hilly areas also. Hilly areas means HACA, Hill Area Conservation Act. So there, if you buy a land, you should know the HACA rules like very clearly. When it's all available in the website, you will not be able to cut the trees. Trees you cannot cut that. So for example, like one is the land itself. Second is during planning. Like what was SSR to he told about the single window system. I'll come to that later. But when you purchase land, the land should be such a way that they give approval. That is from the graveyard should be like within 15 meters from quarry. If the quarry is close by, then it should be all these things are given. Then CRZ zone. If it's whether the coastal zone regulations, where it comes under zone 2 or zone 3, you should be able to have. I mean, like you should be aware of all these things. If it is, sometimes when it comes under CRZ zone, you'll be able to. Your FSI is only 1%. Is only one only. Normal the normal FSI is 2 times you can build. But if it comes under CRZ zone, then for example, Neelangarai, Kottiyakkamanda, the FSI is only one. You can build only one time of your of a plot area. So these things are the CRZ influence zones. What is the impact on that? Is also you'll have to be like very clear when you apply for the approval. See here, H is a site is an unauthorized subdivision. So say suppose you are buying 2 ground plots, you are dividing into 2, then it's an unauthorized subdivision. The subdivision has to be approved. When you go for approval, then they won't give approval. The subdivision has to be approved by the corporation or by the CMDA or by the DTCP. So when you subdivide the land, you have to pay the OSR charges. Previously they gave a scheme. I think the scheme got over. Unapproved land, all the unapproved land, you can pay the fees and you can get it approved. Like that, the scheme was there. You got over. Now any unapproved land, you cannot do registration also. Unapproved land means if you want to build there, you have to pay the OSR charges. OSR means open space installation charges. You have to pay them. That is normally 10% of the guideline value of that particular land. Then your plot becomes authorized. Any plot, if you want to build, it can be a CMD approved layout. It can be the government has put a clause. No, you cannot the plots cannot be registered anymore if it's not an approved plot. If you want to build a house, if you're buying from a builder or a promoter, so that's why we should advise the clients to buy CMD approved plots or DTCP approved plots. DTCP approved plots the must outside Chennai. Only then you'll be able to get the approval for the approval for the land itself. And then if it's not a CMD approved plan, a plot, then you should be able to get the documents from 1975 onwards. From 1975 onwards, like how the land came, who are it belonged to, you should be able to prove the ownership. And if it's before 1975, then the approval is not required. So these things also you should be able to understand. Plus one more most important thing is which zone it comes. We have primary residential zone, commercial zone, educational zone, industrial zone. So you can build what are the buildings which can come in. For example, in industry, you cannot put up in a primary residential zone. And in an educational zone, you just cannot put an industry. So like that, what are the zones? It's all available in CMD website. I request the architects to go to the CMD website fully. All the informations are given. From speak and span, they have given the entire thing here. Only thing you have to spend some time and go and look into it. For example, in a primary residential zone, they will allow you to put up a commercial building, but only up to a certain extent of area. You cannot put a huge commercial complex in or Kalyan Mandapams are allowed in a primary residential zone, but then up to certain extent only. Hospitals or clinics are allowed. So these things an architect should be aware of, because the client will purchase a land and he'll tell you to put up a Kalyan Mandapam there. But you should be able to advise him. You should be able to see the rules and tell him. For example, if you put a Kalyan Mandapam, any public building, 6 meters setback, 20 feet setback, you'll have to leave all around the building. So if the plot is small, if it's not having the frontage, you should be able to advise the client that this is not possible. Even before you apply for approval, even before you apply, you do the design. And many architects, they don't know the rules and regulations. So they do the design fully. They do all massing, they do 3D views and everything. Finally, when they go to the approval, they'll say that it's not possible. You would not have got the fees also, and everything would have got this. So by looking at any public building, 6 meters setback, 20 feet all round, especially schools, Kalyan Mandapams, like group housing, like group of buildings, you should be able to tell the client at the first stage itself and how much you can build. Lot of like many clients will come and say, people are saying we can build 3.25 times, we can build 4 times, we can build 5 times. You should be able to know the rules clearly. You can build 2 times. 2 times is the general FSA. If the land area is 2,400 square feet, you can build 4,800 square feet. This is the most important thing. And then you can go for premium FSI, like depending upon the road width. If the road width is more than 9 meters, 12 meters, then you can go for 2.5 times FSI, 2.5. If the road width is more than, again, 40 feet, something like that, then you can go for 3.5 times FSI. So depending upon the road width, your FSI increases. So that's why, when the road is wider, then the cost of land is much more. Where you can build more. The premium FSI. For the premium FSI, you have to pay like whatever premium you are building, you have to, for 1 square feet, you have to pay the guideline value to the government, or the guideline value of the land to the government. This is one of the most important thing.